going to first take the cradle of the neck in your hands real gently, and we're going to gently pull a little bit, not to stretch the spine or hurt the person or anything else. You're just going to, it's almost like a pseudo movement where you're going to just imagine your hands, which means to image in action, imagination. We're going to imagine the hands coming towards you, but you're going to imagine your spiritual hands coming towards you. And your physical hands are going to sometimes follow, very gently, real lightly, but your spiritual hands are going to be doing it. And I want to say, okay, point to where you feel a sensation going down to. All the way down. Okay? And that's ideally where you want that sensation to go to. Then I'm going to gently withdraw my spiritual hands through my imagination, imaging in action. I'm going to imagine. It's not pretend, it's not fantasy, it's imagination. And I'm going to gently move my physical hands away. And it's almost like my spiritual hands withdrew back into me. Then I'm going to go to the feet. And real gently, I'm going to slip my hands underneath. I'm going to always tell a person, don't help me. Don't help me. And then I'm going to rock like this. And I'm going to move the feet apart. And I'm going to have the person anchor their heels come together. Here they're perfect. And also, as she stated, the sensation went all the way down. So that's another indicator that there's a perfect balance between the heels. So this is perfect. Sometimes, most often I should say, not sometimes, there's a difference in the length of the heels. And it might be 1/8 of an inch, it might be 1/16 of an inch, it might be 2 inches or 3 inches or 4 inches. Then you're going to take, hypothetically, say if her left leg is 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 1/2 an inch longer than the other one, I'm going to start with the longest one. Then I'm going to scan with my spiritual hand. Always scanning with your spiritual. I want to be about 2 or 3 inches above. That's where I feel the most impact from my spiritual hand coming out of my hand, and my spiritual fingers are going to be going down. I'm letting it do it through my imagination, and it's going to interact with her spiritual leg that's reaching out to my spiritual hand, and in between you're going to get sensations if it's incongruent in her body, if it's out of balance in some way or another in her body. It's going to reach out and tell me, it's going to show me, it's going to help me to sense it. I'm going to feel either a heat or a cold or a static or a vibration, or I'm going to feel movement in my hand or a void. Those are my indicators of her spiritual body meeting my spiritual body almost in between. And I'm going to feel it on the surface of my palm. And I'm going like this, and this is about the average speed that I'll go. And I don't want to stay in any place too long because I'm thinking too much then. And I don't want to bother thinking. I want this to show me or to tell me, so I'm in constant movement all the time. And I'm going to go like this and keep sensing. And right here, I sensed it's like a pressure between her spiritual body and my spiritual body, and it's in here, the interaction, the moment of chaos, as I call it, and it'll relate to me in a sensation on my hand, on my palm, in my fingers, or I might feel it up here. Most of the time between here and here. And so I'm getting a little bit of pressure here. Now, do you feel something happening in your body when I do, because I am doing something you can't see because your eyes are closed? Do you sense something happen in your body, Sue?
Not really. Just kind of a pulsing.
Okay. And so the pulsing is the interaction. And not to talk into anything or to make you think anything, whatever, I'm going to go back down to here. Do you sense anything without being able to see what I'm doing?
Maybe just a kind of a slight pressure.
So I'm going to go like this and describe what you're sensing now.
Circle.
It's flowing.
That's coming up, I think.
Precisely. It's coming up, it's breaking up. What I'm imagining, it's through the imagination that we're able to do these things. And the acceptance that there is something happening. It's just accepting it, it's knowing it. That's what intent is. And creativity is. And right now I've met another pressure right in this area here. But now, just through my light, it's almost like a fine piece of glass going through. And wherever it touches an objection in her body, or a moment of chaos in her body, or something incorrect in her body, it's going to wait there, that fine piece of glass, until that's going through her. And the glass is like, it's light. That's all it is. And what it's going to do is dissolve anything that the body has objection to, that's happening in their body. It can be an emotional dilemma that created a physiological or a biological effect, or a discomfort that they're having, or it might have been an accident, anything. Now I'm just trusting so much that light. It's going to do it, not me. And it knows where to spread to, where to stay to. It knows how to heal, how to bring into a true balance. And then I'm going to go right up to the belt line and then work on the other side. And when I work on the other side, there's going to be more of a blood flow now. And so, more of a blood flow in her, or the person you're working with. Now there's a lot of heat coming from, it's like
I needed to feel it in my hand.
there's flow and there's resistance, which are sensations people are going to pick up on in most parts of the body. But right here, it was, is it tickling? Sorry. There's like a resistance here, and I'm going to wait until that breaks, and I'm going to feel a flow in my hand. It's almost like a water balloon filled up with warm water, and someone just put a pinprick in it, and it gently releases, and that's what I'm sensing. And I'm going to keep going, and I'll feel it in my hand like a flow, a release, and I'll know it's done. It may take a minute, or it may take a couple seconds, or it may take up to 3 minutes for it to do it. This is strictly the non-touch way of doing things. And I feel a pressure building up.
So are you sensing that it's just going away fast enough that you don't have to put your hands on, or would you?
Yes, and I'm putting most of my focus on that way of doing things. Most people want identification through touch. That's what they need. But you can do these things without touch, without even letting them know you're working with them. It's not wrong to do good. So you can work on anyone without their permission. You don't need their permission. That's what someone taught one time, and a lot of people liked the person's authority in saying that. So it's not a true dynamic. You work on anyone. And you're not really doing anything. You're allowing the spirit of it to do it. And this way, we're not in the way.
It is interesting that it does go across the body. I'm feeling that in both feet.
Yeah, there's going to be a greater flow now than there normally would be, and that'll be what I refer to as the breath of life, or the dance of life, or the breath of God. And that's a life force flowing through you more fluidly now, without those places of conflict being in the way anymore, that were restricting that breath. And a little bit more right between here and here.
So before, when you said you were off the body, you said it was to kind of hone in,
Yes.
find the spot to where to put your hand.
And you'll feel it.
So now, what are you feeling in your hand when it's done?
Well, as I'm doing this, I'm waiting. I'm feeling the built-up pressures, or I'm feeling the staticky. It's an energy, but through that energy, I'm so used to doing this, I'll just feel it as an energetic. I'll know how to identify if the person might be feeling heat, or pressure, or cold, or static, or release, or anything else. That's from getting used to doing this. There's pressure right here, and I'm just touching to identify, for the person to identify and to show right now. And I feel release as I do this, because I know there's that fine piece of glass inside that's taking care of everything. The glass is light. That's how thin it is. It's powerful. It's doing it. Then, to end it all, just for the leg length, I'll slip my hands under real gently without moving down the person, and I'll move the heels together, spread the feet apart. I'll lift them up gently. I'll bring them together, and they'll be perfect. Even if they were off a 1/16 of an inch, or a half an inch, or 2 inches, 3 inches, or whatever, they'll be almost perfect if the longer the separation was. And the rest can be taken care of. Say if it's not completely balanced as far as lengthwise, then you can go to the neck on. Neurologists shared this with me. And you go to C2 by putting 2 fingers of each hand on each side of the C2, and you just hold it, not putting pressure on it or anything, just holding it real gently. And then you look at the feet, and you imagine that there's a vortex, a hole in between the feet. You just imagine it, and this is where the practice comes in what we teach as far as using your peripheral vision. You're actually looking at the hole, and with the peripheral vision, you'll see the feet begin to either flutter or jerk. Or the person will feel movement, or the person will feel their 1 foot jerk. Then you know it's done. Then you can go and check the feet, and you'll see that they're perfectly balanced. Most of the time, 90% of the time. Perfectly. Cool. Any questions about that for this part, this aspect? Good. And then that's the first part of the protocol. If a person's legs are perfectly balanced, you won't need to do the scanning of the legs. Once you do, gently letting the light, imagining that the light is pulling on the neck real gently, without stretching them or readjusting. We don't do readjustments. What we do is just let the light do it. What were you going to say? Sometimes, though, what happens is the person's body, without even you touching them, will start to pop, like they're automatically readjusting without having to do anything. It's pretty cool. Sometimes when people leave, say, "Oh my God, when I left, my spine started cracking." That'll happen too. You'll hear at times, which is neat. It's because of what they needed, and their body in that short period of time developed into the place that they can do it now for the first time. You'll see this happen, or hear people tell you that this is what happened. So that's the first part of the protocol. And I go like this, and see if the person's relaxed. Sue is really relaxed. And so I'll just slip my hands underneath to each side of the spine and cover a large area with the palm of my hands. And I'll let light go through the spinal area, the spinal process. And the person may feel a sense of energy, electricity, or movement of the spine. And what I'm doing is imagining that the spine is flexible and moving in like a flow. It's like breathing. And it's that, what I referred to in the past as the Mobius. It's like the old CRT screens that had the cloth on it that looked like a web, and they were folding and unfolding. That's the Mobius. And that's what the breath in the body looks like as well. And it'll go in its configuration, which is about 16 beats in a minute. It is 16 beats in a minute, not about, it is. And so here I am. I'm just waiting for my imagination to pick up on the Mobius within her, the breath within her. And there'll be pulsings at first, or there'll be other gyrations that the her body will be going through, and then there'll be an acceptance, and then it will flow. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Kim? Does that make sense? Good. The person will become totally relaxed while you're doing this, and they may feel the flow as well. Have you felt that? Yeah. Yeah. It's happening. So I know her spinal process to the chest up is good. I mean, it's in sync, it's in harmony with her and what she was born to be for this specific area. And then that's the first part of the protocol, the major part. Of course, if a person is in emergent need, they're in pain, you're going to go to that first and work with that in what we've learned, which I've already shared with you, those techniques, and I'll share more. I'll share again. All right, now real gently turn to your right side and sit on the side of the table. no, you can't stay here. And let the blood come in and everything, and you might be a little lightheaded. I always tell people, gently turn to your right side, not real quickly, and sit on the side of the table and stand up. You might be a little lightheaded. How do you feel? Did you-
Lightheaded.
And that's life force moving through more than it had
Inch my way
been
down.
moving before.